I use the same structure to write every ending to every book that I write. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly what that structure is and break down how you can apply it to your own story. This structure comes from Save the Cat and essentially breaks your climax of your book or screenplay or story down into 5 separate steps. The reason why it's so useful to use a structure like this is because every reader or viewer or really consumer of your story is going to have subconscious expectations for what your climax should feel like. Have you ever watched a movie or read a book and got to the end and was like, wow, that was a lot of buildup for something that was kind of lame and was just kind of boring, and it didn't really feel like an ending? That is what can happen if you don't follow a structure similar to this, or at least include the elements that are in this structure in your climax. I'm not saying you have to follow the 5-step finale. I have not done this in most of the books, pretty much all of the books in my series. I didn't know that this existed when I was writing my series, and so when I was plotting, I didn't follow every single one of these steps. But I did hit a lot of these steps anyway, even though I didn't know what this structure was, just because I understood that it's so important to have big reversals in how the finale looks like it's going to play out before the hero actually succeeds. Like, it's important to have your all hope is lost moment, and then the moment where all of your characters have to face their deepest fears in order to become their higher version of themselves and actually fulfill the finale. It's very prevalent, and so this is not the only structure that includes these elements, but I did find that the way that they broke it down was very helpful, and so that is why I'm going to share it with you. So I haven't actually read Save the Cat or Save the Cat Writes a Novel, but I am pretty sure that this appears in either one of those books. And so here is the copy of Save the Cat that I dug out of my moving boxes from my childhood home that was recently sold. So I see some like annotations in the beginning of it, so I think I started it at some point, probably in high school, but I never finished it. It might be in here, so I credit what I say to this book, potentially, or the blog that I pulled this information from that is affiliated with the Save the Cat brand. So step 1 of the 5-step finale is the heroes make a plan. At the point that a finale happens in a story, your heroes have probably gone on some sort of adventure, and they've probably accumulated some allies, accumulated some enemies, had some brushes with death, they have an idea of who the villain is, they know what they want, and they're getting pretty close to being able to actually go and get what they want. They know in order to get what they want, they're going to have to do something extra hard, probably the hardest thing that they've had to do in the entire story, hopefully, if you've done your job right. And so they have to make a plan for how they're going to do it. If there's a princess stuck in a castle and they have to save the princess, they got to make a plan for how they're going to storm the castle. If they've been hunting for a bunch of gold and they find out that the gold is hidden somewhere deep in the national forest and they have an idea now of where it is, and they find out that it's hidden in a really dangerous place, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to access that dangerous place and get the gold. They are not actually doing anything active here. They're not running up into the castle and slaying a dragon. They are not running into the national forest and digging holes in the ground. They are making a plan for how that's going to happen. Very important for them to make a plan, because one very helpful writing rule of thumb is that if your characters make a plan and everything happens according to that plan and the plan is successful, you don't want to show your characters making that plan. You just want to show the plan happening. But if the plan goes wrong, you want to make sure that you show your characters making that plan so that readers know when things are starting to deviate from the plan that your characters made. That is the way that you build suspense, and you don't make your writing boring by rehashing the same information twice. Spoiler alert, this plan is going to go wrong. Step 2 of the 5-act finale is the plan begins. If they're going to save the princess stuck in the tower, they run into the tower and begin their plan. They maybe had a strategy for how they were going to get into the tower, and they start that strategy. I don't really know how else to describe it. They just start doing the things that they said that they were going to do in step 1. During step 2, everything has to go according to plan. Everything is going really well. The main characters are pleasantly surprised. They are energized. They're like, yeah, that was a great plan. We are going to kill this. We're going to save the princess or get the gold or defeat the bad guy or whatever they're trying to do. They are motivated, they are empowered, and everything is going exactly right and the way that they wanted it to. Until they reach step 3. Step 3 of the 5-step finale is that something goes very wrong. Something has to go so wrong that it looks like the heroes are going to lose. Their original plan has to be thoroughly defeated, and it has to look like the bad guy has actually won. So if they're going to save a princess from the tower, they go into the tower and she's not there. Or maybe she's dead. Or maybe the bad guy has her and has a knife to her throat. It's not really dramatic enough. I like the one where she's dead. Or they go to try to find the gold, and the antagonist, who's also been chasing the gold this whole time, has found it first and has completely cleared it out. The twist here has to be so devastating, it has to look like the tragic ending to the story. Like the one where, if that were the real ending, the reader would just light the book up on, like, in flames and just throw it into the trash. It has to elicit a strong reaction. It can't just be like a letdown. It has to be like an angry, like intense twist that makes it look like the heroes, after all of that, are not going to be successful in a very frustrating way. And it has to now look impossible for them to achieve their final goal. Like if their goal was to find the gold and all the gold is gone and like on a ship going to Africa or something, that's going to look pretty hard for them to go get the gold from the ship and steal it if it's on like a pirate ship that's sailing across the sea. Bear with me, these are very rough examples. Or if the goal was to save the princess and the princess is dead, it's gonna look kind of impossible to save the princess. It's way more emotionally impactful if you can make the loss feel irreversible. Like the dead princess is a lot more impactful than the princess having like a knife to her throat and the villain is there, because then, you know, presumably they'll just be able to defeat the villain. Or to have them show up and maybe just another person is also there looking at the gold at the same time. It's something didn't go according to plan, but it's just not as impactful as it could be. So everything is looking pretty bad for the hero after step 3. It's not looking like they're going to be able to win, which brings you into step 4. The hero has to come up with a new plan. This is where the hero has to have some kind of transformation. They have to dig really deep and find a way to defeat the villain that they hadn't seen before. In the hero's journey, this is the part in the hero's journey after it looks like they've lost, where the hero has to complete their character journey, and only after they've transformed themselves as a character from the version that they had been at the beginning of the story, can they actually defeat the villain through their new plan. Like, it's not something that the original version of the hero would have been capable of doing at the beginning of the story, but because of all of the trials that he went through over the course of the story, now he is capable of doing that thing, and he's able to dig deep and face his fears and overcome himself in step 4 in order to enact his new plan and defeat the villain. This is a really satisfying part of the climax to write, but you have to get really creative. It has to tie into the character's character arc, it has to tie into their greatest fear, it has to tie into their internal wound, it has to really fit into your story in order to be satisfying. One book that did this exceptionally well in its climax is the book 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. It's a heist book, and they have a huge heist that they planned, and this structure kind of draws out over the course of a pretty long section of the book, but that's because that's the section that covers the heist. As a side note, I much prefer reading climaxes that are longer than 1 to 2 chapters. I just feel like if you've been reading a book and for like many chapters, and you get to the most exciting bit and it's only like 1 or 2 chapters long, like that's just a letdown. And I think it's a lot more fun when there are many more exciting chapters packed into the climax. But anyway, 6 of Crows does this phenomenally well. They have a plan for the heist, and then the plan goes wrong, and then each of the characters have to face their deepest fears and transform in some way in order for them to be able to accomplish the thing that they want to accomplish. I'm not going to spoil whether or not they ultimately do, but in the climax, each one of them has to face that like deep character question, and it's so cool to read. So then step 5 is the hero does the new plan and wins. The hero came up with a new plan because of the way that that hero transformed, and that plan is successful. The hero is able to save the day, get that gold, revive the dead princess, maybe do some necromancy or something, and ultimately be successful. The hero should be different from the beginning of the climax to the end of the climax. The version of the hero that goes into the climax isn't fully ready to defeat that villain and accomplish what they want to accomplish. And so the role of The 5-step finale is to ready the hero to take that last step in their growth, be ready to get what they want, and to show them getting what they want. You can find this finale structure in so many movies and books. It is everywhere, and for a good reason. Because it's everywhere, our brains are programmed to watch the characters fail before they succeed in a climax. If you were writing that book about saving the princess and they just came up with a plan, stormed the castle, went into the castle, found the princess, saved the princess was very happy, and then everyone lived happily ever after without any struggle, you would be let down as a consumer of that story. If you were writing the one about the gold and your characters found out where the gold might be, they showed up, all the gold was there, they took all the gold home and cashed it and became multimillionaires, something would be missing from that. It wouldn't be a satisfying finale. Even though a lot of the time you're in the movie theater or reading a book being please let this just be easy for them, I don't want them to have a problem. If they didn't have a problem, you would feel in your gut that just something wasn't right. And this is why. So I strongly urge you to use a structure like this or similar to this when you're writing the climax of your story. I absolutely love using this in mine. I've started using this 5-step finale when I'm drafting the new projects that I'm working on, and that's been super helpful in my outlining. I find it succinct, I find it helpful, and so that's why I wanted to make a video on it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video is helpful to you, and if it was, I'd be super grateful if you could like this video and also subscribe to my channel. My name is Claire Fraze, and I'm an award-winning author who makes videos sharing actionable writing tips that helped me make my own writing better. I am the author of the They Stay series, which is a 5-book paranormal thriller series that is complete, and all 5 books are out. If the climax of your book fits this structure, or if you want to know how it could fit this structure and have questions about it, drop a comment down below and let me know. I will do my very best to answer them. If I don't answer them, we have a pretty active community on this channel, and people are very good about sharing their own tips, and they might reply to your comment and also give you their insights about stuff too. So I'm hugely encouraging of that if people want to also keep an eye out for other comments of people asking for help and share their 2 cents. I hope you have a good week, everybody. And as always, happy writing.